Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to do something a little bit different. So instead of doing a normal tutorial today, what I wanted to talk about was coloring as it relates to stress relief and relaxation. So it's supposed to have those properties, but in talking to quite a few people on social media, I know it really can sometimes stress us out and cause anxiety. So let's peel back the layers and get into it. I'll see you on the other side. Okay, here we go. So the first thing I want to talk about is, why do you color? What is your why? So just like any kind of weight loss journey you might start on, or any kind of endeavor or goal, you might have a why. So what is your why for coloring? I'm not asking you to share it with me in the comments. That's your own personal thing to decide. It could be you just really enjoy it. You love playing with colors and enjoying the creative process. Or it could be maybe you have anxiety, you have some sort of a depression that you're trying to work out or deal with, or you're living with it. You have something going on, work is stressing you out, kids, everything, just the the chaos of life is stressing you out. So you color just as a little getaway, even if it's for 5 minutes, to kind of bring you that joy and take you out of that frenetic headspace. So just kind of think about that and keep that in the back of your mind as we dive in. But the first thing I wanted to talk about is one thing that really stresses us out. It stresses me out. So the things I'm going to present today are all subjective. It's just my own opinion. There's no science backing this up. I'm not a psychological therapist person. I give terrible advice, by the way. So, but just keep it in mind that this is just my opinion, my Kim opinion. So the first thing that I think stresses people out, and it definitely stresses me out, is the pressure of perfectionism. So we want to color our page here, and maybe as we're coloring our page, you get out of the lines. Or if you're like me and you hold all of your pencils in your left hand, sometimes when you're switching them out, it's always the dark pencil, never the light one. It's going to drop and leave a mark across the page. And oh my gosh, I get so angry at myself. Like, why are you such a klutz, Kim? Stuff like that. But I think what we need to do is step back and not try to be a perfectionist. It's hard. It's easier to say it than to do it. And I don't think if you're a perfectionist with coloring, it means you're a perfectionist everywhere in life. I think it's very situational. I'm definitely not a perfectionist when it comes to the dishes in my sink sometimes, but I am a perfectionist with how I like to organize my pencils, right? So I think what we need to do is just kind of step back and give ourselves some grace and let us, think about, hey, it's okay to get outside the lines, and it's okay to make the mistakes are going to happen. It's human nature. But that's one thing. So if you could think about, are you being a perfectionist? Is it realistic? Is it unrealistic? I think that's something that definitely stresses us out. So let's go on to the second item next. I'll be right back. This next section I'm going to call Overchoice Dilemma. Do you ever get, in the technology world, they call it analysis paralysis, or I guess in other work areas, but you get overwhelmed with your choices. So I want to sit down and work on a coloring page. And do I use my polychromos? Do I use my black widows? Do I use my prismas? Do I use my luminance? Y'all, this isn't even all of them. Look. Do I use my Artex? Do I use my Crayolas? Do I use my ink tints? Do I use my Neo colors? I don't know. And there are some days when I know, for this picture, I'm going to use I'm going to use my luminance. But then there are times when I really get sidetracked and I just can't decide because, different pencils have different selections. Like the luminance set has only 100 colors. The Black Widow set has 180. And I know some of y'all are coloring with sets out there that have like up to 500, which is ridiculous. I can't even imagine. So sometimes we get overwhelmed with these choices. Let me show you another example. I'll be right back. Let me know if you can relate to this. Oh, I want to start a new page. I just don't know what book I want to color in. Maybe this one. Oh, what about this one? I haven't colored in this one in a while. Do I want to color in a Kirby book? Oh wait, do I want to color in an Erie book? Is that how you say her name, y'all? Erie? Oh, I know. I'll color in a Hannah Carlson book. Yeah, that's, I want to color this page. Oh, but wait, I haven't colored in Botanicum yet. Do I want to do this one too? So you see what I'm saying? So we also have overchoice dilemma when it comes to coloring book choices. And if you're like me, and I think I'm on the low end, you've got a lot. And then not only do you have a lot of coloring books, you have the pressure of books that you own that you haven't colored in yet, like this one. So anyway, that's another thing that can overwhelm us. So I think what you need to do is know that it's, I shouldn't say what you need to do, but there's no such thing as the right page at the right time with the right set of pencils and the right colors. Now, don't get me wrong, magical things happen when you combine the right page with the right colors, and it's all very serendipitous, but don't stress yourself out with, what, you know, I haven't colored in this book. I should color in this book right now instead of the other ones because I haven't colored in this one yet at all. Be careful with the shoulds. Shoulds are kind of dangerous in our life because they imply like an expectation and we're not meeting that expectation. So it's going to sort of bring us down. So don't ever tell yourself, well, I should, and then feel obligated to a book. Don't worry about it. Two of my coloring besties, so Phelan Colors and Kay Carey on Instagram, we have this saying, and I think it was Faye that came up with it, color what you want when you want. And that's sort of something we live by. So if I start to feel a should creeping in to my vocabulary when it comes to coloring, I'll just kind of push that should aside. Do I shove the should? I don't know. But anyway, and then I really think about, you know, I really want to color this instead because there's a page I've been wanting to do in here. Go ahead and do it. Who cares? Nobody is judging you, holding you accountable, going to chastise you if you don't color in the book you haven't colored in yet. That's on you. And these are expectations we put on ourselves, and they're so heavy to carry around. So if you start feeling the shoulds, especially when it comes to this overchoice dilemma, try to step back and acknowledge it for what it is and be okay with coloring what you want when you want. All right, I'll be back with the third step in just a second. All right, I know I called it a third step. It's not a third step. It's the third thing that I think can stress us out with coloring. Let's talk about time constraints. Yay. So here we go, A Million Mermaids. And isn't this the month of May? Aren't we supposed to be coloring mermaid pictures? And I've had this book for 2 years, y'all, and I haven't colored in it yet. So with something like a mermaid hashtag, I feel a lot of pressure to color a mermaid, even though maybe I don't feel like it. And so that's a time constraint thing because it's not Mer June, it's not Mer September, but maybe in the world of Kim it will be. I mean, there's a lot of cute stuff in here. I just haven't felt it. So I'm learning to be okay with that and not feel the pressure of that time constraint. Also, I'd like to cite The Flower Year for making me feel a lot of guilt this year. So a very, very beautiful book by Lila Dooley. If y'all don't have this, you might really love it. But she's got a different section for every month. So here's January's page and different flowers that go in January, February, and then we go to March. Let me find March, y'all. March, okay, so far I'm on time. I'm doing good. I'm coloring March before March ends. April, I started to have a little give up. So April, this was, I think, done on the 29th or the 30th. I thought, oh crap, I need to finish this page. See, time constraint. So I shortcutted it by drawing bubbles instead because these details are very tiny, but I mean, you can see these make for just gorgeous pages, but they take a lot of time. And I don't like the pressure of that time. And so I thought when I bought this book, I think I got it in December so I could start the new year with it. And I told myself, every month I'm gonna color just the monthly panel page. Well, here we are, and is May done? Nope. In fact, I'm creasing the binding for the first time because I haven't even looked at May yet. And it's the 18th. So I'm not sure that I'll get to this. And I'm starting to realize that this might be a bigger, I don't want to call it a goal, but a bigger commitment than I want to really be committed to. So December, things like that. So like I said, this is an absolutely gorgeous book. And you can see, I'm sure y'all have seen pages like this pop up all over social media that people have colored that are just amazing. But these time constraints, and there's also the time constraints of buddy colors. But I'll tell you what, I've not ever had one buddy color where somebody said, you have to be done by next Friday. No, everybody has been so kind and said, you know what? No rush, take your time. And they mean it when they say it. If you've got a buddy that's pressuring you to be done, maybe they're not, I don't know. You'll have to handle that, but I don't think that's right. And I don't think I've ever heard of anybody actually doing that. So I will tell you the coloring community has been very kind, at least to me, and I think to all of you as well, hopefully. So when it comes to time constraints, try to give yourself a little grace and be okay with missing deadlines. What coloring deadline? We live in a world with coloring deadlines. What? Why should there be coloring deadlines? We've got tax deadlines, deadlines to pay your electric bill, deadlines to get your oil changed in your car. I don't need another deadline. So I'm just going to be okay with, guess what? Coloring what I want when I want. Thank you again, Faye, and Carrie. So this might not get done this year as I'd hoped, and I'm going to be okay with that. So the next thing we're going to talk about is the comparison trap. So I will be right back. Okay, the next thing I want to talk about is what I call the comparison trap. And that is the art, because it is an art, because some of us are so good at it, at comparing ourselves to others. So I say this all the time. There's always somebody, excuse me, that's going to color better than you, do white highlights better than you, backgrounds better than you. Everybody has somebody like that. Even the people that you think are stellar, they have somebody that they think is better than them that intimidates them a little bit. We kind of giggle in our group about, when we see something that's so good, we just want to do like throw all of our coloring supplies in the trash and set them on fire. Like, that's it, I quit. I just can't be as good as that ever. But that's just, we joke around like that. But we're not serious, right? So once upon a time, Kim took a drawing class back in 2017, and it was a colored pencil drawing class. So you can see here, here's some of my work. This was Prismacolors, and I believe this was Polychromos. But you can see it's scratchy, it's not blended or blenderly, things like that. But I thought, oh yeah, I've got colored pencils down. I can do this, no big deal. So I got a coloring book, and it's Angie Grace Nourish, and I pulled out my set of Prismacolors 150 and thought, oh, I got this. Let me see what I could do with this with my colored pencils. And I'm gonna be real and show y'all, I don't know if you could see how scratchy and terrible this is. So Kim was introduced to Amazon paper for the first time with colored pencils back then. So this was probably, I'm thinking 2019, I probably did this. So I got very frustrated. You can see here, I tried to blend a little bit, but it just really was not working for me. And so then after that, I got Prismacolor markers, and I just started coloring all of my mandalas with Prismacolor markers, because I thought, yep, that's fun, I'm gonna do that. And it doesn't look like this. But I think what you should do, and the reason I'm showing you this is because it's so easy to criticize ourselves and say, wow, I'm just terrible. I'm not good. Everybody's better than me. It's human nature, right? To get on that shame spiral and think that we're just the worst. We're never going to master this. But what I want you to do the next time you're comparing yourself to somebody else, I want you to look at your progress. So consider this picture, and then consider how I'm coloring mandalas now on Amazon paper. And the Amazon paper is an entirely different conversation. I'm not here to promote it, by the way, today. I've got a video on that. I think most of you came to my channel from either that video or the bubble video. But yeah, so over the years, you get better and better. You improve, you learn things, you discover things. You discover what pencils you like, what pencils you don't like, what paper you like, what paper you don't like. All of those things contribute to it. And then consider this, again, another example. So if we go back and we look at this page, and by the way, not a perfectionist, versus this page, right? So that's probably, let me think, 2019, that's probably a good 4 years of difference between these two pages. So it does take time. It's not something you can, or maybe you can do it overnight if you just watch a lot of videos and practice, practice, practice. But these are things, I'm just here to tell you, be patient, you'll get it. But please try not to compare yourself to others. I don't know if I've told y'all this before, but my dad always said, when you compare yourself to someone else, you're going to lose every time. So to get out of that comparison trap, I really want you to step back and look at the progress and how far you've come. Even if you've just started, be patient and keep going and do it with joy, because I promise you, you're going to get there, and someday you're going to be the person that people are like, oh, I wish I could be as good as them. But just hang in there and be patient. All right, I'll be right back with the next thing I want to talk about. The fifth thing that I think really stresses everybody out, definitely stresses me out, is our WIPs, our works in progress, right? If you're like me, you can probably fall susceptible to what I call start-itis. That's a term I learned in the knitting world where you just itch to start new projects. You can't wait to cast on that next sweater or that next pair of socks. Actually, not socks. I do not like knitting socks, to be clear. If you knit one, why would you ever knit the second one? They are so difficult. But it's just that excitement to start the next project. So you start a page, and then you hit the point that I call and then you put it to the side. Then you start another page, and you hit the point called and you put it to the side. And another page, and another page. And this one is just a joke, y'all. But it could probably be salvaged, but I hit a point. Look, I dropped my distress ink. Is that in camera? My distress ink sponge down here. And, there goes that page. So put it to the side. But I want us to think about being okay with putting these things to the side. It's totally fine. I don't care. I've gotten to a point now where I don't know if I'll ever come back and finish this. But you know what? I look at this page and I think it's really pretty. I love the colors. But if I had to go back and figure out which Copic colors those were, it would take me a while because I have no flipping clue. I didn't record it anywhere. That's my little blotter sheet. But, and by the way, I think this is a Colorit. This is Mandalas Volume 6 from Colorit. But yeah, it's just something where, I want you to be okay with not feeling the pressure of all of those works in progress as you go to your coloring books and you reach for that new page that you really want to work on, that you ignore the voices of these pages in your head saying, shame on you, you should finish me first. When I started coloring again, seriously, back in 2021, I did one page, I completed it. I did the next page, I completed it. And over time, if that were a line graph, it would look like this. I completed my page, one at a time, and then it went like that. So that's probably, and I'm probably right down here. I've got so many, I even have a folder called WIPs, and I don't even visit that folder too often, to be honest. So I want you to be okay to walk away from these, and don't, maybe be okay with not ever finishing this. There are some where legitimately I do want to come back and finish working on them because I really like the page. But then there are some like these that might not ever see the light of day again, to be honest. You might see this page on the back of a milk carton that says missing real soon. I don't know. But I'm okay with that. And I want y'all to be okay with it too. Same with this one. I really like this one. I love this page. I think it's gorgeous. I don't know. I just pushed it to the side and kept going. I think something else caught my eye and I started working on that. So, okay. I'm going to do a flip on y'all in just a minute when I come back, and you'll see what I mean. Okay, so what I want to do is flip each of these 5 things on their heads and look at them from a positive light. And I'm not going to be coloring, so just enjoy these pretty charts and pretty swatches here. So the first thing we talked about was perfectionism pressure. So while I said that can stress people out, there is a good side to perfectionism pressure, because maybe by trying to color perfectly, it's going to slow you down. And maybe in that time that you've slowed down, you feel that zen, stress relief, anxiety relief. So that's why I'm saying these 5 things that I'm listing, they don't always have to be bad. There are good sides to them. So that is what I think about perfectionism pressure. Sometimes trying to strive for that perfection, you can be, you can find yours. And some people find their happy place in perfection, and I think that's great. So I'm not here to criticize at all. The second thing with overchoice dilemma, some people would say, hey, variety is the spice of life. Well, that's very true, and you should see my coloring book collection. It's nothing like others I've seen before. I have coloring book envy for sure. But I like having that variety and all those choices. Sometimes those choices paralyze me a little bit, but I would never give up all of the choices because of that. So there is a positive side to that. Time constraints. Sometimes people are motivated by having a deadline. I know at work, when somebody assigns a task to me, the first thing I ask them is, what's the deadline? When do you need this by? Because if I don't have a deadline, I'm going to just sort of leave it lingering out there, and maybe I'll get to it. But if you give me a deadline, that's going to create a sense of urgency, and now I'm going to complete that task. So it could be the same thing. Some people might be motivated, like when I showed you that Lila Dooley book, with the flower months, the flower year, that is, that each month they might be motivated to color that. And it's sort of like you're competing with yourself. Can I do it? Yeah, I can do this. I've got this. So there is a positive side to time constraints. Likewise, the comparison trap, there, believe it or not, can be a positive side to that, because I could compare myself to person 1, 2, 3 over here. And I can say, you know what? They're really good, but wow, look at how they colored that mushroom. I want to learn how to do that. So by comparing myself originally to them and looking at their work, I can go out and find tutorials on how to color the mushroom. Maybe I reach out and ask them, hey, how did you learn how to color that? So cool. But it motivates you to learn and try new things. So sometimes that comparison trap does have a flip side to it. Just like, I guess, we're flipping pennies over maybe. Works in progress, I don't know. I can't think of a positive side of that. Again, I don't think it's bad to have them, though. Everybody's going to have those. So I'm just going to leave that one there. So I will be back in just a minute with a quick conclusion. Okay, again, since I'm not coloring, I wanted you to have something pretty to look at. These are, by the way, charts that I got from Color with Claire on her site. She does have a coffee donation page. You can download them for free if you don't want to make a donation, but I donated. But anyway, aren't these pretty? So I do want to learn how to color skin tones better. But enjoy this while I conclude and wrap this thing up. So if you're feeling anxious, so the whole point of coloring, for the most part, is to relieve anxiety, relieve stress, just to relax, get away from the I keep saying monotony of life. It's not monotony, it's chaos. Just to get out of that place and kind of be in a little zen happy place, for even if it's for a few minutes. And if you find that you're doing something that stresses you out, just really think about it and think, why am I doing this? What's the, try to peel back the layers and figure out where you're putting pressure on yourself for something. And then it's also okay to completely take a break from coloring. I've had friends that are like, I need a social media break. Hey, I just need to put down my coloring for a while. I'm not feeling inspired. I'm getting kind of bored with it. And they might pick up another hobby. They might do diamond painting for a while. They might knit for a while. But if you really love it, you'll come back to it. It's okay to walk away from it and take a break from it. And then the last thing is, just remember that different people are stressed by different things. So all of these things that I talked about today might not stress you out at all. That is awesome if you're in that place. I applaud you. And I also want to be you. So not everything's going to apply to everybody. We all have, we all come to the coloring table with different life experiences and perspectives. So keep that in mind. But if coloring is stressing you out, then, think about how to unwind that and work through it and let go of some of these expectations we put on ourselves. So I know that this was a very different video today. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it resonates with you. And I know it was really short, and I will be back next time with probably a more traditional video of mine. But thanks for joining me today. I hope y'all have a great Sunday, and I will see you next time.